and you take 50 quadrillion and you divide it, by 50 billion, you come up with a number that's much bigger than 100,000. So a $50,000 to $100,000 XRP, that's the one that's going to move all of the money, and no other one is going to move. There's 26,000 tokens. Okay, 99.9999999% of them are going to go away. There's going to be 50, 60 tokens left standing when the dust settles.
I concur with that for sure. And I fully intend to help kill off many of them.
Please do, because it's a jungle out there. And a lot of people are getting hurt because they don't understand the market. So if everybody sticks to the ones that have utility, because at the end of the day, who wins? Utility wins the day. It's the one that's going to solve problem of problems. You can't build federated sidechain on Bitcoin. You could do it on XRP. You can't build other tokens on Bitcoin. You could do it on XRP. You can't build NFTs on Bitcoin. You could do it on XRP. Okay. And 2 transactions per minute and moving 2 Bitcoins, and it costs you $6,000 and you got to wait 6 hours. In today's modern world, it just doesn't cut it. And the Lightning Network doesn't work.
Well, and the Lightning Network is fine for transactions, but it does nothing to prevent a 50% attack on the Bitcoin network. So, the Lightning Network is just it's a Band-Aid on a broken dam.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, do you concur, or do you think I am completely out of my mind when I say $50,000 to $100,000 XRP in the new world that we're graduating into when this shitstorm blows over is very plausible?
I would say that 1 XRP will equal 1 XRP, and it might buy you a nice car, or it might buy you a house, or it might buy you a business.
It's a big number. It's a big number. Well, good afternoon, folks. We got Patrick Riley. He's the CEO and founder of Reaper.Financial. So if you want to buy the token called Reaper.Financial, that's exactly where you go, and you can purchase that token. He's got a very incredible story, but before we get started, don't forget to hit the pause button, go over to Rumble, subscribe to Rumble. Don't forget to share us on your social media so that we can get around the algorithms. Make sure you decorate yourself with the shirts, because you have to see, at the end of the day, folks, you folks out there are the frontline soldiers. You guys are the digital soldiers. If you're wearing shirts that are saying XRP, XLM, XDC, or Reaper Financial, we got to get a shirt there that says Reaper.Financial. This way people understand the digital assets that are here to stay, and people are going to ask you questions, and you're just simply going to send them to the QFS1776.com. Patrick Riley is the CEO of Reaper.Financial. Basically, you could buy, like I said, the token of Reaper.Financial. Patrick Riley is also a combat Marine who is still in active duty, and he knows a lot about that letter, that 17th letter in the alphabet that he's not allowed to talk about. At some point, he might come out of the closet. Patrick, welcome to my show, brother. I've been watching you for a long time, and I love the way you think, and I know there's a lot going in that mind. Tell our audience a little bit about Reaper.Financial, please.
Oh, thank you, Mel, for the kind introduction. I do have to correct just one thing. I'm not a Marine. I'm a soldier. But
okay, sorry about that.
Oh, that's all right. I just don't want all the jarheads to get upset. But so Reaper.Financial, or Reaper Financial, what we do is we go out and buy and destroy other cryptocurrencies based on a blockchain voting mechanism. And we have a working blockchain voting mechanism that we're using actively. We've used it 19 times, and we're in our 20th blockchain vote right now. And we also pay passive income, and we don't pay it in our own token like all those other scam DeFis out there. We pay XRP. So you don't have to sell into the value of our token to make money off of our token passively. We're paying you something else that has its own value. So you'll get XRP just for holding. You hold it in your own wallet. You don't have to stake it. It's very hands off. And then what we're doing next is we're bringing in debt reaping. You'll be able to go to our website, log in with your XM wallet, connect your bank account, and it'll pull in your liabilities, your student loans, your mortgage, your car, your credit cards, whatever it is. and you'll be able to vote against your own debts, and we will make payments towards your debts based off your holdings and the percentage of the total funds made available. And then what we're doing after that, we're going after small businesses to help them widen their margins and shore up their foundations. We're going after a banking charter. We're going after small nations. We're going after taxes. We're going after the Federal Reserve and the BRICS Alliance. And we're going after money itself and the very concept of money.
Interesting. Now, you sold your car. I mean,
I did.
what crazy individual would sell, and probably a pretty incredible car from what I understand, to buy Bitcoin, a coin that doesn't really do anything today? He understands that. Like I understand that Bitcoin is going to be an antiquated, it's going to be the cellular phone that was invented back in 1988, which was the brick phone, right? I don't know if you go back that far, okay, but nobody uses the brick phone anymore. He understands that today, but you must have made a little bit of money back in the day. Tell us a little bit about that, if you don't mind, Patrick.
Yeah, so way back in 2014, so I guess 7-8 years ago now, I had a GT500. It was a 2009 GT500 Shelby, and it was, of course, a deployment baby that I bought with some money from Iraq and that kind of thing. I had it almost paid off, but I went and sold that, and actually a second car at the same time. I had a Hummer H2. Sold both of them to go and buy more Bitcoin. And initially, what I wanted to do was set up some miners and use the miners to compound the income from those and buy some more and keep building. But I realized that cryptocurrency was not going anywhere. I saw what was coming after 2013, and I wanted more of it. I needed to be a part of it, and I decided to give up the immediate pleasures for the long-term gains.
Interesting. When I got into it, I was also a Bitcoin guy. My wife said, "Hey, listen, it's not Bitcoin, it's XRP." My wife is from the Philippines. She's very, very sharp. Graduated at the top of her class. Incredible brain. I think that she's very pretty, but I fell in love mostly with her brain than her prettiness. And so. Because I was like, I bought into the bullshit story, down with the man, down with banks, down with the institutions. I love to take down the institutions. I can't stand them. Never have. I've been anti everything for a very, very long time, 31 years. But what made you basically get into the fact that, hey, when you decided to build your own token, you didn't choose anything else but the XRPL, the most impressive blockchain in the history of the world, the one that's scalable to 3.5 trillion transactions per second. It's already been proven. Don't even bother wasting your time. If you want to go look at the video, put it in YouTube, you'll find the videos. 3.5 trillion transactions per second. Nobody can touch us, and it's never made a mistake. What made you get to the aha moment and say, hey, this is the one? Tell us about that.
Yeah, so I started understanding the value of XRP around 2018, but it was really as I was getting out of the military, and I'd been planning on building my own token since about 2017, 2018. And with that, I started looking at my options, and Bitcoin, it's too slow. Transactions are too expensive. Same thing for Ethereum. Everyone hates gas. I hate gas. It's just ridiculous. The only one that really had any legitimate use case in microtransactions at the scale I'm looking at doing is XRP. It's the speed of 3 to 5 seconds per transaction, the low fees, and the immutability. So it's just, even though the smart contracts are not released yet, it was just so much more appropriate for a financial tool basis than Bitcoin or Ethereum.
Yeah, this Ethereum merger that recently happened, you're aware of that, correct?
Yep.
Okay. Supposedly they went from proof of work to proof of stake, but then some people are still telling me that there's some serious hefty gas fees still. I think that's a bullshit story all day long and twice on Sunday. And besides, I always say you cannot take the airplane that's flying at 600 miles an hour and swap out the engines and put in new engines at a proof of stake. It doesn't make any sense.
And that's exactly what Vitalik did from the beginning. He jumped off the cliff and then started building the airplane around him. So that's always been the story of Ethereum. He was reacting, but never planning ahead. The Ethereum long-term vision is no more than 6 months.
So you think Ethereum, just like Bitcoin, will eventually go away?
Absolutely.
No question. This is antiquated technology. We're making that very clear to the audience.
Yeah, absolutely. So Ethereum is the MySpace of cryptocurrency. So yeah, it had some utility, it had some good uses with smart contracts, but the reality is, if we look at just the largest companies in the world, we've got Google, we've got Twitter, we've got Facebook, we've got Amazon. None of those charge you to go to the site to use it, to have the experience. There's something free about each of those, and it's user friendly, and that's what gets the adoption. They sell your data instead, but they sell other things, right? Ethereum just
Absolutely.
has very high cost and barriers to entry, whereas XRP is just very low cost, very low barrier to entry. And once you get to a certain point, nobody can actually drop the price of transaction lower than what XRP is at. Nobody can drop a gas fee to be less than what XRP fees are at.
When was the last time somebody moved money with Bitcoin or Ethereum, $50 million, like, Michael Arrington from XRP Arrington Capital, $50 million, 2.8 seconds. The story lives on the internet. Look it up. Fact check me, please. And it cost them 30 cents, and it took 2.8 seconds to move 50 million. Went like that, just like that. You see what I'm saying? Who competes with that? Is there anybody out there that even comes close? Is XLM maybe a second close competitor to that?
So I would say XLM, I know the technology is very similar, but I would say from a leadership of the company aspect, XLM is very far behind. So it was initially, of course, it was a offshoot of XRP, and then IBM got involved, and really they never figured out where they wanted to go with it, what they wanted to do. The guy behind it, most of his ideas were what were shot down by David Schwartz and Brad Garlinghouse early on. So I'm not really an XLM fan.
Okay. Talent pool, as far as the talent pool is concerned, I think the talent pool is dry. I think anybody who's anybody already works for Ripple XRP. The lawsuit, the fact that they were invited to go down to Antarctica to talk to some people that might not be from this planet. The fact that we're the ones that have the lawsuit. Are we the one, or are we delusional? Which one are we?
So XRP is the one that, and I'll say this. So from a global strategic standpoint, there is absolutely 0% chance that Bitcoin could act as a global reserve currency. The reason for that being that currently the US military budget is 722 billion. The Chinese military budget is 250 billion, but everything in China costs, 10% of what it does in the US. So they're probably getting more out of their money for what they spend, right? So if either one of those countries, or Russia or any large competitor, could go and spend a tenth of their military budget on ASICs and mining machines and create enough mining power to do a 30% attack on Bitcoin's network or a 51% attack on Ethereum, it makes it completely worthless as a global reserve currency. You can't have a economic system based on something that a competitor can strategically just spend some money and pull the rug out from you at any given time.
Interesting. Now, obviously, we know that there's incredible, undeniable, in your face market manipulation, gold, silver, digital assets. They're not cryptos, they're digital assets, because crypto is what the cabal wants you to call it, because it gives them the energy of putting you in the crypt. That's not going to happen. You differentiate between the quantum financial transfer of wealth that has to do everything with Gesara, Nesara, debt forgiveness, the new monetary level playing field, the global reset, which is run by the clone, as also known as Klaus Schwab. You're going to have nothing and you're going to love it, and all that bullshit. Do you understand that there's at least two players on the field at this point?
I would say there's dozens of players on the field, and it's much more dynamic and interrelated than people realize. There's, not just the Klaus Schwabs or the Garlinghouse or the Rothschilds or the Rockefellers or the Trumps. There's very many different factions, and each of those factions has an opinion and an objective and an agenda. So I'll put it this way, when it comes to the powers that are running global affairs. If you think of a religion and you have the Torah, that from that you have Judaism and Islam and Christianity, and within each of those you have hundreds of sects. You have Lutheran and you have Baptist and so on and so forth. Each one has thousands of churches. And for each of those churches with a different pastor, they are preaching a different message from that Bible. And each person sitting in those pews, even if they're sitting next to their family, next to their spouse, next to their children, each one is going to cherry pick and believe the part that they believe applies to their life. And they want that to be the truth of their vision of the world. And that's essentially how it is at the top too. You have similar structures, but every single one of them has a different reason to be playing the game.
You put that so eloquently, and I didn't even think about that. And you're right. There probably might be so many different factions. Like, Christianity, there's 4,800 different variations of Christianity. If you were to put the 4,800 leaders from each one of those variations in one room and had them, have a debate on who's right, who's wrong, that would be a pretty long argument.
Yeah, not a single one is going to agree completely with anyone else in the room.
Yeah. So are you saying, in essence, we have to wait for God to come down and the military and we need leaders like me to step up and just beat the drum, boom, 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 just to get the people in motion to win this war? Or do you think this is going to be a long, drawn out situation?
I would say we are personally responsible for our actions, and we have to take those actions that are best going to position us to make the world what we want the world to be. The Great Awakening is not about somebody else coming to save you or to wake you up. It's about us individually waking ourselves up.
Absolutely. So you're definitely of the mindset that XRP is the chosen one. They're manipulating because they cannot live with the fact, and you can either agree or disagree, that the Billy Bobs of the world and people that look like me, who used to own pizza shops for a living, okay, and used to do, all kinds of entrepreneurship and sales consultants and all kinds of stuff, they don't want people like us to be the next ruling class. Is that one of the reasons you think they're, heavily into the manipulation? Because they've had power for thousands of years, and here we are, they're about to lose all of it.
So this is nothing personal, but I don't think they think about you or me or us at all. So the manipulation of markets is as old as there are markets. There's never been a financial market that wasn't manipulated, whether you're looking, back to Amstel Rothschild, who overthrew the British Bank in the Napoleonic Wars, or if you're going all the way back to the Yap stone money and a Scottish king coming in and bringing limestone rocks. There's just always been manipulation. That doesn't change. However, blockchain can make that much more transparent. As far as XRP being the one, I'll put it this way: it comes down to the simple business, boring old MBA type stuff. We've got a company that currently has more than 30% market penetration and saturation of central banks. Ripple has already got on-demand liquidity in Brazil, in Japan, in Egypt, Saudi Arabia, United Arab Emirates. They're working with the Digital Pound Foundation. They're working in Guam. They're working in I'm forgetting half the countries now, right? And they've got NFT staked land rights in Colombia now. So when you've got a company that's already at that level and able to integrate, and we're already seeing CBDCs coming out across the planet, just from a blatant business stance, there is no other company ready to step up and answer the need that will be requested of blockchain.
Yeah. Well, the reason why they don't want the blockchain is simply because it's a trustless system. They've been able to literally rape and pillage and bamboozle us and teach us what they want us to learn so that we could serve their master, now not what we should really know. So everything we've learned is all a bunch of bullshit, is really going to be burnt. we're going to have some serious book burning and starting from scratch when this whole thing blows over. But they don't want the trustless system. They want the system that can screw you till the end of time.
Well, so I wouldn't even say that. So the thing a lot of people misconstrue about human psychology, and that's part of my background, is psychology and psyops. So people misconstrue that anyone is malicious. For 99.99% of the population, people do what is in their own self-interest, their best interest. It's not that they want to screw anybody else or want to harm anybody else. It's that they want what works for them. When we're talking about our politicians, more than 60% of them right now are over the age of 60, and they don't know jack about blockchain, but they do know about the systems that have worked for them their entire life, the corrupt systems of banking and taxation and lobbying and slush funds and the Panama Papers and so on and so forth. They understand that and they're comfortable with that. That's the real resistance here, is that it's not that they don't want us to succeed. It's that they're just going to keep doing what they know works for them, and that is corrupt.
Well, the central bank digital currency, you see, I have a problem with the central bank digital currency simply because if they would be allowed to have their cake and eat it too, meaning the banksters, they would be allowed to print the CBDCs until the cows come home to infinity, and they become multi-quadrillionaires, whatever. And they're going to buy, 72,000-foot yachts, whatever. But the facts are that once we mature into this new wealth of class, if you will, class wealth that basically allows us to pay each other peer to peer, and you're worth billions of dollars because you're now the digital assets have matured to its fullest potential, and you're staking that money. And you're making so much money just on the interest, even though you're getting 1/4 of 1%, or maybe even 1/2 of 1/4 of 1%. You're making millions and millions of dollars a month, and you can take it in VeChain. You could take it in your denomination, which is the Reaper.financial token. You could take it in any denomination, and anybody who is a retailer can accept that because it's real money, and it's backed by what? The blockchain, which cannot be manipulated. Because for example, if you have billions of dollars and you got $1 million a month, for argument's sake, coming in interest, you can't spend $1 million a month. I mean, you could. You'd have to ask Mike Tyson on how to do that. Okay. But $1 million a month, and you could spend that interest peer to peer. In other words, I could pay you directly. Nobody could come to my house and put a gun to my head and say, hey, you have to use the Bank of America central bank digital currency. I'll tell him, hey, screw you, pal. I'm going to use what I want to use. You can't tell me what to use. If you're willing to accept my money, I don't have to go through a central bank digital currency. This is the struggle, I believe.
Yeah. So here's the thing with CBDCs. They are coming, right? We know it's coming. The executive order came out back in March 9th, and there was another guidance on it a couple days ago here in September. And we know the CBDC is coming. It's almost unavoidable at this point that there will be one. What we can do is shape it. So when I say that, we have to be very loud and very transparent about what is unacceptable in the form of a CBDC and what we do want to see in a CBDC. So unacceptable, obviously, being the China model, where they use it to implement social credit, where they have an expiring CBDC or yuan, I believe it is. So we have to prevent them from creating systems of tyranny in the CBDC. Totally. As far as will they continue to print it unchecked and astronomically, most likely yes. And that is part of where Reaper Financial comes in, is in phase 9, we will be able to put that in check by burning that as a service to them. So they will become a client to us.
Absolutely. But here's the thing. I think the CBDCs are going to exist to represent each country's monetary system, whether it be the yen or the Japanese money or the euro, what have you. But I don't think the banks, I think the struggle, Tim Draper said it best. I mean, Kiyosaki said it best. The banks are finished. They know that they're finished. because they're going to have to sort of morphosize into something completely different. And I think in order for them to take on that process of morphosizing into something different, they're going to have to adopt a software called PolySign. You ever know about PolySign?
Yeah, absolutely. So in 2008, 2007, when we had the last Great Recession, it was 465 banks in the United States that went bankrupt.
Sure.
I think over the next 15 to 20 years, we'll see the majority of credit unions and banks in the United States fail, which is part of my plan to pick one up on the cheap. But that's the reality, is most of them will fail unless they transition into being essentially a digital exchange, something similar to Robinhood or something similar to Coinbase. And banks will be nothing but an app on your phone. I think 20 years from now, seeing a hard standing bank on the corner of Main Street will be a total thing of the past. They'll all be pubs and clubs by then.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree with that. Is there a chance that Ripple becomes like a global, mammoth bank, or maybe even part of the new IMF that's merged with the Treasury and the Federal Reserve, a new form of monetary system, getting rid of, wiping out all the debt, personal and country, starting from a level monetary playing field, as Donald Trump likes to say. See, I don't know if you know about Richard Citizen Journalist and Nancy Drew. I follow them religiously. And to me, people like David Straight have a tremendous amount of credibility, who I've interviewed. It's my biggest interview. He's got 189,000 hits and climbing still. And this is 3 months ago. He said, that he verified the story that I already knew. I just wanted the audience to understand what it is that we know, and that I'm not cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs, right? And the reality is that a bunch of people got arrested at the Treasury. When was the last time you saw, Patrick, and my audience knows this, this is more for your audience. When was the last time you saw Washington, D.C. look and operate the way it's operating right now? It looks like a ghost town. So buses pulled up, prison-style buses, dozens of police cars pulled up, and people were held off in handcuffs. The phones from Nancy Drew and Richard Citizen Journalist got what? Confiscated. The videos got what? Deleted. They almost got arrested. And so they both tell the same story. I can't brush it off as being bullshit. What do you think?
I think I would love for that story to be true. I don't know. I'm one of those people that I don't like to believe in anything. I like to know or not know. So I would like for corrupt people to be going away, and for all those things in the background to be happening the way that many people hope that they are. At the same time, I'm a skeptic at heart, so I'm going to continue to work and make things happen on my end to the best of my ability.
Sure. And, I can totally respect that. But the reality is that, Patrick, with all due respect, I always say, go down there and join. If you're near the Washington, D.C. area or the Maryland area, go down there and join these folks. And let's get a third or a fourth perspective, because they take the videos. Nobody's home. The Department of Justice is closed. The Federal Reserve is closed. The IRS is closed. Nobody's home. The FBI building is closed. There's fences everywhere. There's weird people acting weird in weird suits, talking on the radio, all kinds of shit. You know what I mean? That you never saw before. Something definitely doesn't add up. I think 45 is still in charge. I really believe that.
Yeah, and it wouldn't surprise me. And I, of course, have to be a little bit careful about the way I talk about that subject. But it would not surprise me.
Yeah. I can tell you that there's just anomalies that you can't sweep under the rug. But let's get into something here that I think the audience will appreciate. You see, XRP needs to solve the liquidity crisis, and people don't understand the power of that one word. When you're talking about being able to be scaled to 3.5 trillion transactions per second, there's a reason why it needs to be scalable to 3.5 trillion transactions if it's going to move all of the money on Earth. We're talking about moving mountains, financially speaking, at lightning speed. And so the liquidity currently right now, globally, it's a conservative number of 5 quadrillion. When you talk to the derivatives market, which is like 1.8 trillion, $1.8 quadrillion. The real estate market, diamond, gold, silver, all of it, everything that moves on planet Earth. It's a 5 quadrillion. We're moving into a world of unbanked. We're moving into a world of universal basic income that people are going to have to literally go to a website. And because there's going to be so many of us that are going to have so much money, too much money, that we're going to have these humanitarian projects. People think, oh, this is not utopia. And it's not. People are going to have to do something for that money, that $6,000 a month. We believe that prices will come down dramatically, because when you solve the liquidity crisis and you take $47 trillion that's trapped in these Nostro Vostro accounts, and you liquidate that because you no longer need it because you have an asset called XRP and it can move at the speed of lightning, you don't need the $47 trillion sitting dormant in banks around the world. Okay. So when you take into account that you got 50 billion escrow, this is why it makes sense that XRP might very well become the new IMF, the new Treasury, the new Federal Reserve, the new bank of the world. This is the reason why the lawsuit, which is the lawsuit for the masses, this is the reason why partially they don't want to leave the United States, because they instinctively understand that the United States will eventually become, again, the global, the most powerful nation on earth. That's a fact. So why would they want to leave the most powerful, most advanced nation in the world to go open up an office in Singapore or the United Kingdom, Australia? They don't. Partially is maybe somebody made them an offer they can't refuse, sort of like gangster style. They say, you guys can't leave until it's time to serve the wine. What is that wine? I think that wine is Nesara, Gesara. I have people, Patrick, that have come on my show recently. I have one video that I'm releasing as early as either tomorrow or the day after. Student loan forgiven. We got dozens of these. A lot of them don't come forward because they don't want to be on camera. I can understand that. I respect that. However, I have a gentleman out of Ohio, went to go make his first payment on the house. House is paid for. We're hearing stories out of Russia that people get in debt forgiveness like crazy. I believe Russia is the testing ground for Nesara Gesara. Where are you on Nesara Gesara?
So, as you of course know, Nesara Gesara was signed back in 2000 prior to 9/11, and then it wasn't implemented. With the 2008-2009 housing financial crisis, we saw a big shift in policy federally and in the Treasury, which suggested that there was a lot of groundswell and movement towards a new system. So they realized when they started pumping out stimulus checks that the US dollar, the fiat currency that was, unbacked by anything since 71, was doomed. So I won't necessarily say that Gesara, Nesara, given that it was written back in the late 90s, I imagine there's significant changes, and it's probably not even the same bill or same intent by this point. But I will say that there's been a plan to transition out of our previous system for some time, and they know we have to. At the current Fed interest rates bumping out by 3/4 yesterday, and it's been going up between 0.5 to 1 pretty much monthly for 9 months now, right? So at the current rate increase, and we're expecting through 2025, the US interest rate payment on our national debt will be 1.6 trillion within 10 years, which means almost half of all taxes collected within 10 years would be going just towards the interest payment. So clearly that's not sustainable. So I think of it like Wile E. Coyote. He's already run off the fiscal cliff and he just hasn't looked down yet.
Correct. Well, the taxes, to give it to you in a nutshell, right now, all the billionaires and trillionaires of the world, they hide behind their 501c3s. They pay very little to no taxes. And meanwhile, they got, 800-foot yachts, helicopters, jets, homes all over the world. Okay. Champagne, cocaine, and beautiful women. All right. And then nobody pays any income tax. And they don't do anything for humanity. Humanity doesn't get anything from these people. Zero. They hide behind their 501c3 and they donate the money to some orphan children. And you know what they do with the children. You don't need to get into that. You could sort of, run wild with your mind. So with the new system that's coming, Gesara and Nesara, that could be anywhere between 14 to 17% tax, flat tax on anything you want that is not a need. you're going to pay a tax. And everybody has to pay. No one can hide behind some bullshit 501c3. Those things are gone. Okay. So when you take into account that everybody has to pay, and whether it's 14, 15, or 17%, it doesn't matter. What matters is that everybody has to pay, and you open up that cash register. Again, this is for your audience, not mine. There's going to be a lot more money in that cash register. But now your income taxes goes away, your property taxes goes away, and your capital gains tax. That means if you bought $100,000 worth of XRP, and now your $100,000 is worth $100 million, you don't pay any income taxes on the capital gains of that. That's beautiful. The system that Klaus Schwab wants, he wants to take as much as possible. If he could figure out a way to take it all, he would, and put you in the crypt. Hence the reason why it's called crypto.
Now, what if I told you I can do better than either of those systems? And that's exactly what Reaper Financial is.
Please tell me.
All right.
Please.
So with Reaper Financial, so once small nations start adopting our token for Reaper reserves, and just to clarify for anyone wondering why it's called Reaper, it's because we kill things, but basically what we're doing is we're implementing the holy laws into the digital universe, life and death, right? As above, so below. And we're putting it where it belongs, because you can't just create unchecked life in a digital universe. You have to put death into that universe as well. So that's where we come in. So when you have Reaper as a reserve for a nation, they're able to borrow funds based off how much debt they can handle with the debt reaping tool of their reserve. So say, for instance, they can borrow $1 billion for some small country like Angola, and they only spend 700 million out of that billion. So they actually get rewarded for being responsible and not spending more, because now they have a $300 million difference that they can buy more Reaper token for their reserve. And now they can borrow $1.5 billion next year. So now you have an economic system where taxation is completely unnecessary. They don't need those taxes from citizens at all. They only need to spend less to be able to borrow more.
Interesting. What do you feel? I mean, I'm sure you probably might be a little bit biased because you're the creator of Reaper, but what do you think when this whole shitstorm blows over? Gesara, Nesara is the law of the land. Taxes goes away. All this stuff goes away. The Reapers are worth maximum amount. The XRPs are worth maximum amounts. What is that maximum amount you think your Reaper is going to be worth? Give us a number that you think is reasonable.
So here's where a lot of people really get hung up on the numbers with XRP and Bitcoin and all of it, cryptocurrency, and something that people just don't recognize in the environment of finance. So it's not about the commodities or the gold or the silver or anything that's backing it. It's about the limited quantities available, the supply and demand, right? So XRP having a limited total supply is perfect. It doesn't matter what that supply is because it's divisible. But within the next 10 to 20 years, we currently, right now, we have 9 civilian space agencies gearing up and getting ready to go and mine Psych-16. Psych-16 has more commodity wealth on that rock in the Mars belt than the entirety of Earth. So just imagine what happens to the commodities market when a single rocket goes up and comes back with more wealth than an entire nation. It collapses the economy, right? So we know this historically. There was a king from back in the Horn of Africa that went through Egypt and these other countries in Ethiopia and basically bankrupted them all because he was so rich by comparison. So that is exactly what we would see. So it doesn't matter what the numbers are. What matters is that the numbers are limited. So it's not XRP is going to be $30,000 or $50,000. It's that the entire wealth of humanity, of all commodities and all commodities that are not yet enveloped by humanity, is split amongst the set number of XRP in the ecosystem. So when a company goes out to Psych-16 and it grabs $1 trillion worth of gold, that trillion figuratively dollars, because they won't really be a thing anymore, that comes back and that becomes added to the total value of XRP. You've just increased the total market cap by that commodity. So when people ask about numbers, they're looking at it from a frame where they're looking from the US dollar and value, but that's just not how it's going to work.
Yeah, I'm a heavy speculator. See, I think that the old market cap calculation is going to go away because we're going into a new world, new rules. Market cap is going to be a thing of the past. See, I say this because I understand basic math. I'm not one of these guys that took, one of these crazy algebras or whatever crazy math courses, but basic math, boy, I'm an accountant on steroids. Basic, pluses and minuses, and times this and times that. When you take, and I was supposed to get into this conversation earlier, I sort of dropped, but when you take into account that there's 50 billion XRP, okay, and it's still in the United States, it's still involved in a lawsuit, and something tells me that the United States government does not want this asset class to move over. It starts off as global reserve bridge currency, but at some point, I believe it's going to become global reserve. I mean, I've said this. We have Brad Garlinghouse saying this on stage 10 years ago. We have a lot of people saying this. Anyway, I think the number is going to be anywhere between, conservatively, 50 to 100,000. Because when you take into account that 5 quadrillion is moving on the old world, and the new world is going to be intense by a factor of 10x, 50 quadrillion, and you take 50 quadrillion and you divide it, by 50 billion, you come up with a number that's much bigger than 100,000. So a $50,000 to $100,000 XRP, that's the one that's going to move all of the money, and no other one is going to move. There's 26,000 tokens. Okay, 99.9999999% of them are going to go away. There's going to be 50, 60 tokens left standing when the dust settles.
I concur with that for sure, and I fully intend to help kill off many of them.
Please do, because it's a jungle out there, and a lot of people are getting hurt because they don't understand the market. So if everybody sticks to the ones that have utility, because at the end of the day, who wins? Utility wins the day. It's the one that's going to solve problem of problems. You can't build federated sidechain on Bitcoin. You could do it on XRP. You can't build other tokens on Bitcoin. You could do it on XRP. You can't build NFTs on Bitcoin. You could do it on XRP. Okay. And 2 transactions per minute and moving 2 Bitcoins, and it costs you $6,000 and you got to wait 6 hours. In today's modern world, it just doesn't cut it. And the Lightning Network doesn't work.
Well, and the Lightning Network is fine for transactions, but it does nothing to prevent a 50% attack on the Bitcoin network. So, the Lightning Network is just it's a Band-Aid on a broken dam.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, do you concur, or do you think I am completely out of my mind when I say $50,000 to $100,000 XRP in the new world that we're graduating into when this shitstorm blows over is very plausible?
I would say that 1 XRP will equal 1 XRP, and it might buy you a nice car, or it might buy you a house, or it might buy you a business.
It's a big number. It's a big number. Patrick, it was an absolute pleasure having you. I wish that we had done this earlier, but there'll be plenty of opportunities for us to do it again for sure. Hopefully you could bring your comrade in crime there, the gentleman that was supposed to be here with us but didn't make it today. I think that'll be very interesting, because I understand he's into that 17th letter of the alphabet, and so him and I could probably have a pretty epic conversation. I'm going to hit the pause button here. We're going to say goodbye to the audience. If you listen this far, thank you guys. We'll catch you on the next one, and thank you, Patrick, for coming.
Thank you, Mel.